Dear viewers, I welcome you back to my YouTube channel, The World of Least Explored Phenomena. In the last series of videos, we had discovered the paranormal subject, parapsychology, which dealt in the bizarre phenomena of telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, psychokinesis, and life after death. We had seen what research has so far been done and what is the way forward. But in this particular episode or the series, we are going to talk about the normal phenomena, the least explored one, that is workplace management. We as young people pass out from colleges and institutions well equipped with the knowledge in the field of study which we apply at the workplace. We are adept in that field, but we are novice in managing the workplace challenges. This series of videos is for the young managers and entrepreneurs who are just entering into the workplace arena. Through these episodes, I want to equip these young people to face the workplace challenges successfully. The tips I am providing are the essence of my 45 years of professional working experience, 25 years of which has been in the capacity of GM operations. We shall be looking into these aspects, the challenges, we face them, and we will see what should be done at what situation, and we shall be equipping ourselves with the tools with which we shall be tackling the problems that we face. In this series, we have already, in this series, we'll be talking about these aspects. First one is the transformer stages in one's life, which we already covered in the previous episodes. We have covered what is the meaning of workplace and what are the types of workplaces. We are now at the third aspect, that is managing people at the workplace. On this also, we have had uh, some videos on some of the aspects of managing people. We have seen these aspects so far, that is leading by example, do what you preach, be critically observant. We have also seen a full episode on effective communication. We had also covered good listening capability, which is required for managing people at workplace. We had also looked into firm courage of conviction, which is a must for a leader to lead the people and manage them effectively. And a leader should have ability to protect their people. All these aspects have been covered in the three episodes we have already uh, made, and those are streaming on my YouTube channel. If you have missed them, please do go back to my channel and view those episodes. I'm sure you will get a lot of learning from those episodes. Today we'll be talking about ability to resolve conflicts. Conflicts happen, and conflicts are bound to happen in any area, be it workplace or our lives. This is so because people have emotions, People have been groomed with values and they have attitudes which have come out gradually in the environment in which they have grown, and no two people are alike. They have their mood swings and they have a thinking capacity. All these things make them vulnerable to come in conflict with others. We shall be looking into what is conflict and how these conflicts occur, what causes them, what are the harms that can be caused by a conflict, how we resolve workplace conflict, and we shall see that always the conflicts are not having negative result, or they are not negative in their nature. Some conflicts are also positive in nature. We shall be looking into all those things. We shall be looking into all those things. But first, let us see what normally the people think about a conflict. Just see this short video.
Conflict is
Conflict is
conflict is individual, educational, and inevitable.
Crazy, dangerous, and risky.
Conflict is arguments, fights, people shouting.
An opportunity to solve a problem.
Conflict is emotional, conflict is everywhere, and conflict is an opportunity.
A battle and difficult.
conflict is about creativity.
Conflict is the chance to change the status quo.
Conflict is conflicting ideas and actions.
Conflict is scary.
Conflict is different opinions, different ideas, and different points of view.
Struggle, energy, opportunity.
Challenge. Hope. Fear. Transformation.
Disagreement, change, and potential.
Stress, trigger, and choice.
Universal, inevitable, dangerous.
Drama, drama, drama. Is that okay?
So, the conflict is perceived in many ways by different people. But one thing is sure, conflict is disagreement. You don't always agree on all the things. There are disagreements, and when the disagreements become severe, they result in conflict. So, what is the conflict? Conflict is defined as a clash between individuals arising out of a difference in thought processes, attitudes, understanding, interests, requirements, and even sometimes perceptions. A conflict results in heated arguments, physical abuses, and loss of peace and harmony. Workplace conflict is sharp agreement, clash of interest in the workplace. Say, for example, there are departments of production and quality. They have conflict because of their nature of work. Production is for increasing the quantity, and quality is for ensuring good quality. So they reject the bad product which is formed. So in a way, they are not in line of increasing production. So these two departments mostly clash, and that clash is healthy, but it is a clash because sometimes production feels that they are rejecting the goods which are acceptable. These are the borderline cases. So these conflicts happen. Conflict is defined as a clash between individuals arising out of a difference in thought processes, attitudes, understanding, interests, requirements, and perception. A conflict results in heated arguments and sometimes escalates to abuses and even to physical fighting. It certainly disrupts the peace and harmony. When we say conflict arises, when we say conflict arises when individuals have clashing values, opinions, needs, and interests and cannot find a middle way. Say, for example, when the values clash, when a negotiator refuses to do business with a potential counterpart she deems unsavory or on moral grounds. So this is clash of values. Another example is parents bar their teenagers from attending an event they think might be dangerous. There can be clash of opinions. Say wife likes pink color for curtain but husband likes blue and a conflict arises. Say Gandhiji chose the path of ahimsa and Subhash Bose of violence to fight British. So these are the clashes of opinions. Clashing needs also give rise to the conflicts. Say between a couple, one wants to have children, the other doesn't. Between a couple, one wants to move out of their place to for job opportunity, the other prefers to stay back and look for whatever job could be found locally. So these are the clashing needs. What could be clashes happening out of clashing interests? A person chooses personal gain over duties to their employer or to an organization in which they are a stakeholder, or exploits their position for personal gain in some way. The clashes can happen also because of differences in attitudes. See, I give you a real life example. In one of the factories where I was GM, there was a PPO manager, production process operations manager, who was a very efficient machine man. He knew about the machines very well, but he was eccentric. He was having an inflated ego, and worst of all, he was very rude while dealing with others. So he had an attitude which is rare, and we had a stores manager who was very dedicated but a rigid person who would not budge from the laid down protocols. So the two attitudes of these two people were totally different and they clashed. Both had good virtues but different attitudes. It so happened that while attending on the machine, the PPO manager found that he needs a spare part urgently. He verbally commanded to the stores manager to procure the part immediately. The store manager told him to send a requisition duly authorized by the plant manager, then only he can get the part. The PPO manager said that the part is urgently required and the store manager must procure it immediately and not go by the rectapism, and protocols. This is a matter of urgency and he should immediately get it. The store manager refused to do so without getting the formal requisition, and the conflict ensued. These are the conflicts which arise due to the attitudes of the people. What causes conflict? We have seen several factors above, but some of the factors which are very common is poor communication. Since we are not able to express ourselves correctly, sometimes misunderstandings happen and the conflict occurs. We have seen the personality and value clashes. Sometimes, sometimes it so happens that scarce resources result in the conflict between the employees. Some lack of clarity on roles and responsibilities also are some reasons for re- ensuing the conflict. There are other reasons like poor management, unfair or discriminatory treatment, inadequate training, lack of opportunities, unhealthy competition, changes to internal systems, mergers, acquisitions, or layoffs. All these also result in conflicts of varying degrees. What are the harms caused by conflicts? Harms caused by conflicts are low morale, reduced productivity, excessive employee turnover, quality problems, management is not able to meet deadlines, supervision cost increases because a lot of time is spent on resolving the conflicts, employee theft and damage, increasing psychological problems, decreasing collaboration, undesired behavior creates tensions, trust deficit, damaged management credibility, and worst of all, customer could become dissatisfied and the basic goal of organization to make profits is affected. How do we resolve conflicts? Before we go to the resolving of conflicts, let us see the scarce, see the conflicts which are caused by different aspects like scarce resources. Too often, employees feel that they have to compete for available resources to do their job. In a resource scarce environment, this causes conflicts. If there aren't enough materials and supplies for every worker, then those who do get resources and those who do not are likely to experience conflict. If people feel that their workload is unmanageable or they are being pushed too hard to perform, resentment towards leaders happen. So these are the causes of conflicts. Causes of conflicts could be lack of clarity on roles. Lack of role clarity may include overlapping responsibilities, two workers given the same task, unclear roles and reporting lines may result in conflict. Conflict or frequently changing expectations and work standards, changing deadlines can create conflict. Not being given information needed to do the job, all these create conflicts. These conflicts are constituted by sharp disagreement in ideas, opposition of interests, the difference in the thought process, difference in attitudes, difference in perception, unclear communications, personality and ego clashes, professional jealousy, power struggles at the workplace, biased performance appraisals also a reason of creating conflict, disturbed mental space due to tensions, maybe at home or at the workplace. So these create harms to the organization, and the harms, as we have discussed, are many. And the worst thing is that goal of company is not achieved, bottom line dips. It is due to decrease in productivity, alarming absenteeism, and higher staff turnover because people do not want to stay in an environment which is tense. Conflict escalation and violence can happen. Tense working environment increases anxiety, stress. Disagreement in the office lead to demotivation and create a toxic workplace culture. Low morale happens, people are not enthused to give their best, and they become negligent in their duties. All this harms public image of the company and also results in declining profits and impact the customer experience. Now, these conflicts are all harmful and negative, and we have to resolve these conflicts as early as possible if we have to have a smooth working of the organization. Resolving workplace conflict involves several steps. First step is to bring the conflicting parties in a receptive frame of mind. If the emotions are charged, people do not listen to reason. The first thing is to bring them in a receptive frame of mind. This could be done by making them calm. Say, if two agitating people come to you, first of all, you offer them a glass of water, ask them to be quiet and be composed, and then you can initiate the discussions. Unless people are brought in a receptive frame of mind, they will not listen to reason. They will be only charged with emotions. And when you are charged with emotions, you lose the faculty of reasoning and logic. So, first of all, you have to bring them in a receptive frame of mind before you start the initiation of conflict resolution. For resolving the conflicts, you have to analyze the causes of conflict. For analyzing the causes of conflict, you have to make efforts to find the real cause of conflict. You must segregate and eliminate the emotional outbursts and register in his mind only the hard facts which are pertinent to conflict. You have to do this exercise. Out of the communications which come to you from these agitating people, you have to filter out the emotional part of it and filter the hard facts of the case. Select the points where both the parties are in agreement and positive points in their narration and try to create a positive atmosphere. After narration, You must guide them to discuss and move towards analyzing their actions so that we move towards the root cause. Next step is reaching the root cause of the conflict. This is the most crucial part of resolving the conflict. While listening to them, enter the shoes of both the parties, try to be them and view their viewpoint as if you own them, and try to understand the problem from their perspectives and from the points of view of both these antagonizing parties. You must stay calm, be reasonable, filter out the emotional outburst, as I said, and cons- consciously and very peacefully look at the facts. You must cooperatively work together with these conflicting parties. Lead the conflicting parties to do arguments and counter arguments without raising their voice. They should do this after the emotional outburst is over. They should be made to lead to argue their case logically and put the counter arguments. Encourage conflicting parties to argue against the points raised by the other party in his presentation. So while all this is happening, you must listen patiently, analyze the negative actions on either side which could have triggered the conflict. Gently draw the attention to the negative factors which could have resulted in the conflict and encourage both of them to counter each other. You must be only a facilitator and keep discussions on a positive track through prompting and guiding. Lead the discussion towards the root cause by prompting the parties to move towards it while arguing and counter-arguing. See, I had given you one example of mine where a conflict arose between me and my MD. When he suddenly phoned me and told me that henceforth my work plan will be reduced and shall be looking after only 3 local units, and the vice president manufacturing will look after the outstation units. When the conflict arose and I faced my MD and we sat talking to each other, my MD, while trying to resolve the conflict, first offered me a glass of water, patted me on my shoulder, and looked very concerned. All this set me at peace, and I was brought in the right frame of mind to listen to him. He genuinely praised my work, and he said that he was very happy the way I was progressing. So this removed the tension from my mind that my work is not being appreciated. That's why my work span is reduced. So I was in right frame of mind and I was able to listen to logic and reasoning which he subsequently provided. While discussing and guiding me in towards the root cause, we reached the root cause, and the root cause was that MD, even though he appreciated my work, had some other reasons to take this step. And he confided in me when he told me that the newly appointed vice president could not be tested for his efficiency because he was not able to provide him independent work and all the work was being done by me. So he thought that he should give him an opportunity to prove himself, and that's why he took this decision of giving 3 outstation units to him. And the root cause of the problem was that he had not confided in me about this. He had not laid any foundation and he had just abruptly given his order. That was the root cause. So the root cause can be found if you are a patient listener and you are tactful to make these conflicting parties move towards the root cause by discussing and debating over their point of view and counter arguing why their other point of view is not correct. It will certainly lead to the root cause. And once you have found the root cause, the conflict resolution becomes easy. The root cause itself throws up the final solution. Having reached the root cause, both parties will come to an understanding of where they had gone wrong and they would voluntarily agree not to repeat the mistake. In my case, MD had agreed that it was his mistake and he would not do it in future. Root cause puts at rest the turmoil in the minds of the conflicting parties and paves the way for solution which is found by themselves with the support of the mediator. In my case, there was no mediator. It was the MD who himself acted as a mediator and a aggrieved party. Next step is to do the follow-up of conflict resolution. After resolving the conflict, don't leave it as it is. You must pursue it by your follow-up action. Keep a watch on the behavior of the conflicting parties for some time after the resolution of conflict. It will tell you whether they have really come to terms and accepted the solution. Do counseling if there is behavior indicating doubt in the minds of conflicting parties. In my case, my MD kept talking to me on some pretext or the other weekly for a few weeks to ascertain whether all doubts were cleared from my mind, and I started to work with full vigor and speed. The conflict resolution has positive impacts. Unless if the conflict is kept unresolved, it creates many harms which we already discussed. But once you have resolved the conflict, it brings in unity in the group starts cooperating, there is inspiration for creativity, environment is there is an environment created to share and respect opinions. If it was due to poor communication, it gives a reason and a boost to improve future communications. Motivations get renewed and people start working with more vigor. And overall, it brings improved culture with better confidence in its leaders. We always feel that conflicts are negative. It is not so. Conflicts are normally negative because they are born out of disagreement and those vitiate the atmosphere, but not always so. Imagine a organization which is dealing in research. The researchers may have conflicting ideas. So there is a conflict. But when those conflicting ideas are discussed, you may come out with a innovative and creative result which is beneficial for the organization. Say for example, imagine your team is working on a problem concerning lower output given by a machine, and the ideas concerning possible reasons are provided by different groups which may be conflicting in nature. But when you do the brainstorming, you could reach a optimal solution. So such conflicts are positive conflicts. In research and development, it becomes a need that the researchers must get into conflict with ideas on the projects which do not have an agreement and find optimal solutions which will lead to innovative and creative outcome. I'll summarize all these conflict resolution in this video, which is interesting. Please watch.
Brainy Dose presents 14 effective conflict resolution techniques. When we have a difference of opinion with somebody, we often try to correct them, to convince them that our point of view is correct and theirs is not. After all, we would never hold a point of view we thought is wrong. Yet, we all know from experience how difficult it is to get others to admit to being wrong. It is usually not only futile, it often leads to real conflict. Thankfully, there are a number of effective conflict resolution strategies, so consider giving them a try. Number 1. Don't get defensive. In any conflict, whether it's professional or personal, we all feel the urge to rush to our defense. You may find yourself constantly trying to correct the other person's position with "but," "nevertheless," "however," in defense of your own position before they are even finished explaining their opinion. Try turning the situation around. How do you feel when another person is constantly contradicting you and seems unwilling to consider your opinion? Take a moment and really try to see things their way. They have reasons for their point of view, just as you do for yours. This doesn't mean that you have to accept their position, but if you let them know you are taking them seriously, you can avoid things getting personal. Try using phrases such as, "I understand what you mean," and "that's a valid point." Signal that you respect their opinion, even if you don't agree. Number 2, avoid the blame game. When you feel under attack and go on the offensive, even calling the other person's character or intelligence into question, you cannot really win. All you've done is made an enemy. Avoid blaming others. Instead, establish an atmosphere of respect, one in which everyone can safely express themselves. Let others state and explain their points of view without launching an attack. Number 3, listen actively. Perhaps the greatest way to resolve a conflict is by really listening. You want to express yourself, so let others express themselves. Instead of listening just to discover flaws and formulating counter-arguments while they are speaking, listen to what they have to say. You may discover that you didn't really understand the point the other person was actually making. You may discover common ground. In any case, they will respect you for listening. Number 4, begin statements with "I." When you begin statements with "you," it sounds like you are pointing a finger at the other person. This actually betrays a weakness on your part. Your opinion should stand on its own merits, not rely on another person's flaws. If you think that the other person is not allowing you to express yourself, just let them know how that affects you. I feel like I'm not being understood is far less confrontational than you aren't listening. The first statement relates to yourself. The second one is directed at the other person and destined to put them on the defensive. This can make a big difference in a conversation. These kinds of I statements give the other person a chance to pause and rethink their own behavior. It can lead to an atmosphere of mutual respect. Number 5, tame your emotions. Speaking in anger or frustration is a bad strategy for resolving conflicts. When you're emotional, your rational thinking shuts down and you can't formulate an acceptable outcome. Don't unload your emotions on others. Wait until you calm down so that you can discuss things in a reasonable manner. Throw a tantrum if you want, but do it before you speak with them. When you are calm and rational, you can make your own points better, and you are open to different perspectives. Number 6, show that you can compromise. Depending on the situation, some approaches to conflict management may be more effective than others. Sometimes simply being accommodating and avoiding conflict is the best move, especially if you don't care much, one way or the other. A competitive strategy might be much more useful when you have to come to some sort of decision and need to assert yourself. In most conflicts, however, the only way to come to some sort of resolution is through compromise. You have to come to some acceptable agreement in order to move forward. Show others that you don't always have to insist on your own way, even if you still think you are right. Others will appreciate you for putting a solution before your own pride. Number 7, don't badmouth someone to others. Unless you really need to, you should not spread around details of a conflict you are having with someone. You will only make them feel betrayed, and the only way they can defend themselves is by badmouthing you. This does not make you look good. There are other ways to vent anger or frustration than talking someone down. If you just have to do that, do it in front of a mirror, write it down, or talk to someone who doesn't know who you are talking about. Trust and respect are essential for resolving conflicts. Number 8, don't take it personally. We tend to regard our opinions or actions as a direct reflection of who we are, so we get defensive. However, when someone disagrees with your opinion or criticizes your performance, don't take it as an attack on you personally. Someone might think your opinion is flawed or your performance can stand improvement, but that does not mean they think you are a terrible person. They may even have a point. Realize that if you can distinguish between what they are criticizing and yourself as a person, it will become much easier to avoid personal conflict or resolve differences in a way that is acceptable to everyone concerned. Number 9, pay close attention to nonverbal communication. Dealing with conflicts directly is not everyone's forte. Some people prefer to be accommodating or even avoid conflict whenever possible. They are uneasy with conflict and would rather say or do almost anything just to spare themselves an unpleasant situation. This can lead to building emotional pressure. Since they are not being honest with you, you may not be aware of this until it comes to a head. So, don't just take people at their word. Be aware of nonverbal communication that betray emotions, such as body language, facial expressions, eye contact, and voice tonality. "I'm okay" should not be very convincing if they are sighing, averting their eyes, or fidgeting. If you learn to pay attention to these cues, you will sense when their words do not match their feelings. Then you can take steps to encourage them to be more honest with you. Number 10, prioritize resolving the conflict over being right. You might think that someone is being unfair to you or that something just isn't right. Maybe you regard yourself as the victim of a compromise, or perhaps of some change of policy at work. You can easily get frustrated and emotional about it. Usually, the situation is not just about you. Calm down and reassess things. The compromise or decision might have been made for the sake of the common good. Yes, you may indeed be right, but you should consider whether you really want to insist on your point of view at the cost of the conflict and resentment it may cause. Not every battle is worth fighting. Number 11, know when to apologize and forgive. Telling someone, "I'm sorry," can be very difficult. This is especially true when you feel like you have nothing to apologize for. And if someone has hurt you in some way but won't admit to the wrong, you may get so upset that you won't ever want to forgive them. Yet, you should consider that resolving a conflict is often preferable to maintaining your pride. People make mistakes, and just like you, might have a problem admitting to them. If you can put aside your resentment and forgive them, you could make way for an even better relationship with them. Resentment is a bad investment of time and energy. Number 12. Focus on the present, not the past. When you are in a conflict with someone, it can begin to get personal. You may start to remember other conflicts you had with them in the past and get resentful. You might even bring them up in order to attack them, even though it may have nothing to do with the issue at hand. One way to avoid this is to use a 48-hour rule. If someone does or says something that bothers you, bring it up with them within 48 hours. If you don't, just let it go. Don't use past conflicts as a weapon when you are engaged in a new conflict. The other person will resent you for doing so, and it will just make it harder to come to a resolution. Number 13. Use humor when appropriate. Humor is a great technique for dissolving tension. It's hard to be upset when you're laughing, right? But you must be careful. You should avoid humor that could offend your counterpart or makes fun of his or her position, or anything else that might be sensitive to them. Be aware of the other person's sense of humor. Some people can take a joke, but others can't. Use humor only as a way to break the tension and focus at least temporarily on something other than the subject of conflict. Self-deprecating humor, poking fun at yourself, is one method for achieving this. A well-timed humorous remark might be all that is needed to calm emotions and make all involved parties more receptive to a practical resolution. Number 14. Remember the importance of the relationship. At a given moment, the topic of contention might seem to be extremely important. Conflicts, however, arise constantly and are almost always temporary in nature. Solutions are almost always discovered. Remember, relationships usually last, for good or ill. Insisting on your point of view is rarely worth the cost of losing a friend or worsening any relationship. After all, conflicts tend to fade, but people usually stick around. How will they regard you? Think about how important the subject of discussion is to you, compared to the relationship you have with your contender. Make sure you weigh the gains of winning against what they can cost. Maintaining good relationships will better enable you to resolve future conflicts. What do you think? How do you deal with conflict? Do you use any of these strategies? Share your thoughts and comments below.
So, this video captures almost all the points which I discussed, and in fact, it gives valuable tips for resolving the conflicts. With this video, I come to the end of this session.
Enjoyed this video.
I come to the end of this session, and I shall be taking up in next videos the other aspects of managing people. The future episodes will be on motivation, integrity, fairness and consistency in dealing with people, respect, the self-respect of others, treat others as you wish to be treated. Please wait for my further videos, and in case I have made you interested in the subject, and if you want to increase your knowledge further, you can go for reading my book, Workplace Management for Budding Managers and Entrepreneurs, which is selling at Amazon and Flipkart. Please wait for my next video. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you once again. Thanks.